Bonjour, Monsieur Chat. Oh,
This is our June 2026 update, and this time I am going to talk about some of our trials and tribulations over the past few months, all while showing some walks through various Montpellier parks and neighborhoods. So this is kind of the flip side of all the positive, happy vibe videos that I've been posting. So it may seem like I'm grousing a lot, but really by and large things have been going well. So after 3 appointments and submitting stacks of documents and forms, it has been 4 weeks since we started the process of getting a checking account, and we are still waiting for approval. For most of our day-to-day financial needs, we've been able to use our Wise Euro account and our Capital One MasterCard. But some things require a local French bank and actual paper checks. Parking, for example. Yeah, we have a stupid car because of the horses, and we park at the Polygon parking garage. Currently, we pay monthly with our credit card, and that's a pain in the ass because you have to show up on the day that it's due, not before. You have to show up in person, and if the day that it's due is a Sunday, you are shit out of luck. The garage does have a program for making quarterly payments with electronic transfers, but to set that up requires, of course, the usual half-inch thick amount of paperwork plus a paper check from a local bank. We submitted our application for the French National Health Insurance System, l'assurance maladie, back in April. And since then, we've had 2 requests for additional documents, each about a month apart. So we each need to provide an apostilled birth certificate. An apostille is an official stamp and letter from the state certifying that the certificate that the state itself has given you is authentic. Unfortunately, most states don't provide the apostille with the document when they provide you with the document. Instead, you need to request the document from the state, then send it back to the state along with the request for the apostille and of course the fee and the return postage to get it to wherever you are. Now, I screwed up here because when we ordered our forms from Wisconsin for me and Oregon for Elaine, we had checked the apostille option, and so I assumed that it would arrive with one. But this option just means that the documents were suitable for an apostille. Of course, being in France complicates the process, and so the original documents were sent to our virtual address. We then downloaded and filled out the apostille requests for the different states, and we purchased UPS shipping labels, and then had to get printed. And this was done at our virtual address office, and then our virtual address office mailed them back to the state with the document. Uh, yeah, it's just as awkward and stupid and painful as possible. So you can pay a handler to do this for you. I mean, the process is so stupid and awkward and backwards. There are whole industries set up just to do this, but it usually costs around $250 to $500 per order, not including the fees from the state and not including shipping. So it's almost always worth it to just struggle through the crap and do it yourself. And here we thought that France was going to be the source of our bureaucratic nightmares. Anyway, once we have the documents in hand, we have to have the document and apostille translated by an officially approved translator. We can then send copies of the original and the translations to the local offices that request them. Currently, we only need our birth certificates apostilled. However, we are coming up on the time where we can start the renewal process for our residence visas, and we'll need a lot more documents apostilled. And so we are taking care of everything at once. I've been dragging my feet on preparing for the French driver's license tests, and so September is now probably the earliest we can arrange for our knowledge test. Assuming we pass that, then the subsequent driving test would be in late September or early October. We need to have our French licenses by October 20th because we can no longer drive with our US licenses here after that. For me, the problem is strictly mental. We have mock tests that we do, and fully half of the questions on these tests are not about the law or driving safely or being a good and considerate driver. No, they're about pedantic observations on how the question was phrased. This just ticks me off to no end, and I have had a hard time being motivated to push through it and just get the stupid task done. The fact that neither of us like driving, I mean, I absolutely hate driving, and everything to have to do with cars doesn't help with the motivation. So we could have avoided the problem altogether had we first moved to one of the 17 US states that has a reciprocal driver's license exchange agreement with France. But most of those states are places we'd rather not even visit, much less live for 6 months. And having the horses would have complicated this approach further. And yet, now that I'm thinking about it and looking back on it, it may have been worth it. Another complaint, our neighborhood can be noisy at night. We are in the historic downtown center, but we're on a street that doesn't have any restaurants and the shops all close early. The noise is mostly from young people who feel the need to walk around after the bars close at 1 or 2 in the morning, and they talk loudly or yell and sing very, very loudly, and basically either are unaware or don't care that they're in a residential area. Typically, this is really only a problem when the weather is pleasant, because if it's too hot, we close up the house and have the air conditioning on, and so we don't really hear it as much. And if the weather isn't pleasant, well, then they're not out at 2 in the morning. All in all, it's a relatively small nuisance, but it's hard to remember that when it's at 2:30 in the morning and you need to get some sleep. On a positive note, we are finally starting to take advantage of living in Europe, and we're taking day trips to interesting places. Last week, we went to Point de Gare to see the Roman aqueduct and to hike around the area. Next week, we are planning a day trip to Arles or maybe Set to see the sights. And that's our update for June. For the most part, things are well, and the future holds a lot of potential.